In the village of Ajinoba, life moved at a gentle pace, echoing the flow of the nearby river. Boys grew into roles as fathers, farmers, and carpenters, following the trades of their fathers. Girls typically married soon after secondary school, devoting themselves to family and household. Higher education seemed far away, almost an impossible idea. For parents, education ended at secondary school, a point they accepted with no thought of alternatives. Life in Ajinoba was steady and predictable, like the rhythm of the rising and setting of the sun. But a quiet change was on the horizon. One bright day, the village stirred with excitement as a group of city students from another continent arrived on an excursion. Villagers were captivated by their fashionable clothing, polished shoes, and confident demeanor. Carrying books, the city students shared stories of a world unknown to Ajinoba, a place where machines built houses and made farming simpler. The villagers listened, enthralled. Among them, the village head watched in awe, gripping his walking stick. This is the future our children should reach for, he thought. For the first time, the idea of sending children to universities abroad entered the villagers' minds. The city students soon departed, yet they left a lasting gift of hope. The villagers began to envision a future where their children could achieve dreams beyond Ajinoba. Gathered beneath the grand Iroko tree, the villagers discussed this new possibility. They agreed that one child must journey to the city for an education. All eyes turned to one name, Ireti. Known for her intelligence and kindness, Ireti was the village's bright star, and they chose her to carry their hopes forward. Everyone contributed to Ireti's departure. The women packed food, dried yams, ground pepper, a little palm oil, while the men gathered all the money they could spare. As they blessed her, the elder women laid hands on her head, offering words of strength and protection. With hope in her heart, Ireti set off to a new country, carrying the dreams of the entire village. Arriving in the city, Ireti felt as though she had entered another world. The tall buildings, fast cars, and bustling crowds were fascinating yet overwhelming. School posed many challenges, but Ireti's sharp mind and determination helped her to excel. She befriended Damilola, a fellow Nigerian who shared her tribal roots and guided her through city life. Despite her new friendship, Ireti struggled financially, often going to bed hungry, softly reassuring herself, "I must not fail my people." As time passed, Ireti began noticing something peculiar about her friend Damilola. Despite coming from a modest family, Dami always seemed to have money, new clothes, and plenty of food. Curious, Ireti asked her friend how she managed, but Dami only laughed, saying, "Just a little hustle here and there." Each time Ireti pressed, Dami would brush it off with a mysterious smile, promising, "One day you'll understand." Life in the new country grew harder for Ireti. She faced taunts from some students who mocked her simple clothing and called her local. Every day was a struggle to hold her head high as she bore the weight of her village's dream, even as loneliness and hardship chipped away at her spirit. Soon, Irete's funds ran dry, and with her village unable to send more money, she found herself barely getting by. Writing home, she poured her heart out. Mama, Papa, Auntie, Grandma, everybody, things are hard here. Her family and village people responded with small parcels of dried fish and a few coins, stretching themselves thin to help her. Days blurred into hungry, listless weeks. Her focus slipped, her thoughts clouded by constant hunger. Her stomach rumbled loudly in class, and she tried to ignore the quiet laughter of her classmates. She couldn't let her village people down, but bit by bit, her spirit was breaking. The city felt colder, darker, and her struggles seemed an unbearable weight. In this moment, Damilola's laughter echoed in her mind. The friend who somehow had money and seemed free of worries. Irete's heart twisted, pride battling with a growing helplessness. One night, lying on her tin mattress, with her stomach growing with hunger, she hit a breaking point. The next morning, with weary eyes and a heavy heart, she sought out Damilola outside school. "Dami, please," she whispered, voice quivering. "I need to know. Let me walk with you, whatever it is. I can't keep going like this." Dami looked at her friend with a serious expression, her smile fading as she realized the depth of Irete's desperation. "Irete," she said slowly, "are you sure? This isn't ordinary work." Irete's eyes were resolute, her need too great to back down. "I don't care," she said, steadying her voice. "Just show me. I have no choice." After a long silence, Damilola nodded and led Irete to a secluded spot where the city lights cast faint shadows. "Listen, Irete," she began quietly. "This isn't something you tell anyone. It's quick money, but it's not what you might expect." As Dami explained, Irete felt her heart race, understanding the nature of the job. It was foreign and felt dangerous, something that her village would never approve of. But with hunger at her sleeve, she nodded. "I'll do it," she whispered, voice soft but unwavering. For the first time in months, she felt a glimmer of relief, though it was tempered by a creeping darkness in her heart. She knew her path was changing, and she sensed its weight. But she also knew there was no turning back. That night, Damilola brought Irete a dress that shimmered like starlight, transforming her into someone who almost looked like she belonged to the city. Damilola carefully applied makeup, colors Ireti had never worn before. And as she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized the girl staring back at her. "You look perfect," Dami assured her, her smile warm but distant. Together, they went to a lively bar filled with music and laughter, where strangers mingled with light, danced across the room. Guarding her, Dami showed Ireti how to speak, how to laugh, and how to charm men. And Ireti followed, determined and nervous, hanging on every word of her friend's guardians. After a one-night encounter, Ireti found herself holding more money than she had ever had. The coins felt strange yet powerful in her hands, filling her with a new sense of possibility. The hunger that had driven her here was momentarily replaced by something close to excitement. Leaving the bar that night, her pockets full, she felt the city lights burn a little brighter, her worries fading into the background. She indulged herself, buying food and treats she had once only dreamed of. For a brief moment, she forgot the village, her promises, and the dreams she had carried. The thrills of this new life, a taste of freedom as sweet as honey, swept her up. But each step she took further into this dazzling, dangerous world pulled her further away from her village, Ajinoba, and the golden dreams her village had entrusted to her. One morning, after returning from the lavish home of a wealthy man, Ireti felt her body ache with an unfamiliar heaviness. Her skin burned with a strange excursion, settled deep in her bones. She brushed it off as fatigue from her long nights and hoped sleep would ease the weariness. But as days passed, her strength continued to drain away. Her once quick steps turned to sluggish movements. Her friends noticed, their laughter giving way to concern as they brought her food and medicine, yet nothing seemed to restore her energy. Then something stranger happened. Her belly began to swell. At first, she thought her eyes were deceiving her, but each day it grew rounder and harder, like clay being molded, while her arms and legs became weak and thin. Her friends whispered in fear. "It's like kwashiorkor," one murmured, shaking her head in disbelief. "But how? She's eating more now than ever." Ireti too was frightened. She touched her belly, feeling it firm and foreign. While her skin grew pale, her cheeks hollowed, and her eyes sank, casting a haunted look. Her friends tried everything: herbs, medicines, remedies, rumored to cure anything. They watched over her, hoping each morning to see her rise with renewed strength, yet each day only drained her further. The glow left her skin, her hair dulled, and her once bright eyes faded beneath a shadow too heavy to lift. Weeks turned into months, and her friends exhausted every remedy they could find. The city doctors shook their heads, saying, "There's nothing else we can do." And one by one, even her friends began to drift away, unnerved by what they couldn't explain. Left alone, Ireti felt life slipping further and further from her, like water flowing away beneath her reach. In desperation, her remaining friends made a decision. "We must take her back to her country," they whispered. They hoped Ajinoba could offer a solution, the place that had once filled her with such strength and hope. And so, with heavy hearts, they lifted her weak body, wrapped her in a blanket, and set off for Ajinoba, praying the villagers will understand. On a misty morning, they arrived in Ajinoba, carrying her as carefully as a fragile doll. The villagers, who had waited eagerly for her return, gathered, their faces bright with expectation. For months, they had imagined this day, picturing her as a symbol of their pride, a young woman transformed by the city, clothed in the city's brilliance. But the sight before them left them silent, their hopes falling like stones. Ireti was unrecognizable. Her face was pale and hollow, her body weak and thin, as if she hadn't eaten in weeks. Her belly was round and swollen, a haunting contrast to her shrunken lips, her eyes distant, lost in a private sorrow. The vibrant girl, who had left with so much promise, now looked like a shadow returned from a dark journey. Her friends, avoiding the villagers' questions, quickly explained that Ireti had fallen ill. They offered no details of the life she had led or the choices they had introduced her to, each word measured and clipped. Without a backward glance, they left, returning to the world they knew, leaving Ajinoba and Ireti's fate behind them. The villagers looked on, hearts heavy with sorrow and confusion, their murmurs low yet filled with grief. They could barely recognize the girl who had left them full of dreams and promises. Ireti's parents stepped forward, trembling as they knelt beside their daughter, tears filling their eyes. They had sent her to the city with hope as vast as the sky, but before them lay a fragile, hollowed figure. The village gathered in silence, each person struggling to comprehend the transformation of the young girl they had loved. Ireti lay on a wooden mat in the village square, surrounded by faces marked with concern and kindness. She shivered as she looked at the familiar faces, each gaze a reminder of the hope and faith her people had once placed in her. Her lips quivered as she spoke, her voice thin but laden with regret. "Life in the city was hard," she whispered, her eyes cast down. "The money you sent was never enough. I tried, but hunger followed me everywhere." Her voice cracked as she went on, each word revealing the weight of her choices. "I met a friend, Damilola, who showed me a way to survive, a way I shouldn't have taken. I forgot my purpose. I forgot all of you. I chose the wrong path." Her confession hung in the air. The villagers listened, faces filled with sorrow and understanding. Tears strayed down Ireti's cheeks, glistering like lost dreams. "I've brought shame upon you all," she whispered, her voice shaking, "and disgraced my family, our village." Elder Nasiru, the village's eldest, stepped forward, her expression solemn but softened by years of wisdom. Placing a gentle hand on her head, he spoke in a calm, gentle voice. What you suffer now is more than illness, for this is no simple sickness. You carry a child conceived outside marriage, and in our tradition, this is seen as a curse. Your body weakens under the weight of this breach, a reminder of the honor we hold dear. The villagers nodded, murmuring with understanding. Ireti's swollen belly, her weak body, they were a manifestation of the village's ancient belief, a consequence known to every child raised in Ajinoba. A young woman who became pregnant out of wedlock was said to endure a trial of the spirit, her strength drained as a reminder of the village's values. Yet, Nasiru's voice softened with hope. There is a cure, my child. We have faced this sorrow before, and we know the path of healing. It will not be easy, but if you're willing, you can find your way back to health and peace. Ireti looked up at the elder, her eyes brimming with hope and shame. She nodded, grateful for their understanding and the chance to make things right. The villagers gathered closer, their hearts softened by compassion, ready to help her. The village herbalist prepared herbs and potions, moving with quiet reverence as they tended to Ireti. Each day, they applied healing balms, massaging her belly with oils, whispering ancient prayers meant to guide her spirit back to strength. Ireti lay still, allowing their care to seep into her bones, feeling warmth return like sunlight after a storm. Gradually, her strength returned, her weak body filling out, her eyes regaining the light they once held. Her mother prepared nourishing meals, and the elder women shared wisdom on caring for the life growing within her. They taught her to cradle her belly with love, to speak gently to her unborn child, and to make peace with the journey that had brought her home. Months passed, and one night, under a brilliant moon, Ireti gave birth to a baby boy, whose cries filled the air like a song of hope. The villagers gathered, offering blessings and prayers for the child's future. She held him close, his tiny face a reminder of her trials and her redemption. She named him Ayodele, which means, "My joy has come home." For he was not only her son, but also her second chance. As the seasons changed, Ireti grew determined to pursue the dreams she had once set out for. With her son in her arms, she resolved to return to school, this time with a heart strengthened by purpose. Balancing her studies and motherhood, she worked tirelessly, each accomplishment bringing her closer to the life her village had envisioned for her. Years passed, and Ireti's hard work bore fruit. She became a respected figure, known not only for her knowledge, but for her resilience and strength. When she returned to Ajinoba once more, it was as a woman who had overcome great hardship. The village welcomed her with open arms, celebrating her courage and honoring the strength that had carried her through the darkest times. They saw her not as a girl who had strayed, but as a woman who had grown wise and strong, carrying forward the spirit of Ajinoba with pride and dignity. Ireti's story became a cherished tale in Ajinoba, passed down from generation to generation as a lesson of courage, resilience, and the power of second chances. The quiet village now held her journey close, a story of hope for the young ones setting out to make their own way. Over time, Irete's name became a source of pride, a symbol of the dreams and strength that lived within the heart of every villager. Thank you for listening to this story. If it touched you, please like the video, share your thoughts on what it taught you, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring tales like this. Till I come your way next time, it's goodbye from Tabuzocorner. See you in my next video.